Hi guys, so I'm here today to do a video all about books I'm sure I'm gonna love, aka 5-star book predictions, which is a video format that has been going around BookTube for a while, where people just talk about books on their TBR that they think they're going to give 5 out of 5 stars, that they're going to absolutely adore, no questions asked, and I decided I would like to do one of those videos. So the premise I think is pretty clear, therefore I'm going to jump straight into the books. Now the first book on my 5-star predictions list is Human Acts by Han Kang. This is the second of Han Kang's novels that were translated into English from the Korean, and I have read the one that was translated first, which is The Vegetarian, and adored it. That was a 5-star read for me. And this one is funny because it seems to be you really love one or the other almost, because they're very different books. However, this sounds like the kind of book I would love anyway, and that's not including the fact that it is written by somebody who I adored another book by. Now this one is more overtly political. It's set in the 1980s and takes place around and after a suppressed student uprising that took place in Korea in real history, and centres on fictionalised characters that are involved in that uprising. My mum has read and adored this book, and that's almost the best recommendation I could get. For some reason my parents' book recommendations always mean more to me than anybody else's, really. I love to read things that they have loved, and she loved this book. She liked The Vegetarian, but she loved this, so I'm really excited to get around to this one at some point. I just think I need to be in the right headspace because I think it's quite dark and violent, but I'm sure it's going to be amazing. The next book I know exactly when I'm going to be reading though, and that is Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson, because this is the July-August read for the Feminist Orchestra Book Club, which is a book club I run alongside Lauren from Reads and Daydreams. I will link any information about the book club down below, but I'm sure you've heard about it at some point. This is a fiction book that is heavily based on Jeanette Winterson's own life. Her growing up in a strictly religious household as a gay young girl, and about her mother trying to sort of beat this out of her with religion. I think this one is going to be so moving and impactful, and it seems to be a very important book on this topic. I just already know I'm going to cry when I read this book, but because the book is going to be so good. And I trust that Jeanette Winterson's writing style can do that, because I've read other books by her which I have adored. All 4 or 5-star reads. Her writing is stunning, and I'm just excited to see this topic brought to life by that writing style. And like I said, I just think I'm going to cry when I read this, and I'm also really excited to read it as part of a group and discuss it with everybody. The next book is actually the most recent book I have acquired, and I am so excited to have it. It is a proof copy, so it's not quite out yet, but that is The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. This, my friends, is a retelling of Euripides' Trojan Women. So Euripides' Trojan Women is an ancient Greek play which centres on the women of Troy after Troy has lost the Trojan War to the Greeks, and these women's lives post-war. They are essentially discussing how they are about to be distributed amongst the Greek heroes as slaves to do with what they will. It's about the impact on war on women, the aftermath of war, and it's a really moving and upsetting play. It's one of probably the plays of Euripides I would recommend the most highly, because I feel like it's one of the most emotive ones for me, and I'm just so excited to see a retelling of that story in a much more full capacity, because obviously a play is quite short, whereas this is a good 300 odd pages long. I haven't read anything by Pat Barker in the past, but she's somebody again I've heard amazing things about as an author, and I love Greek myth retelling, so I have complete faith in this book. Now the next one I feel like I'm almost cheating with, because it's a sequel of a book that I already gave 5 stars by an author whose other books I've mainly given 5 stars to, so I think this one's an almost certainty, but that is Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. This is a sequel to The Diviners. This is a young adult fantasy series set in 1920s New York, and in the first book our protagonist Evie is sent to live with her uncle in New York who runs an occult museum. She makes friends, meets new people, learns about herself, but at the same time there are a series of paranormal-esque murders taking place in New York that she gets dragged into. I adored Libba Bray's other series, A Great and Terrible Beauty, of which I gave 2 out of 3 of the books 5 stars and the other 4 stars. I gave the first book in the series 5 stars, so I feel like it's a given. I'm probably going to give this 5 stars as well. These books are just the definition of escapism for me. They are so immersive, I love all the characters, and they completely wrap me up in their world and take me away from everything going on around me. But next I thought I'd mention a couple of collections of poetry, both by poets who I naturally have read poems before by, or else I don't think I would be guessing that I'd give them 5 stars. But the first one is Plum by Holly McNish. I love Holly McNish. I haven't actually ever read a collection by her, but I've seen her perform poetry on multiple occasions, as well as read a few of her other poems online and adored them. She is very much for people who are fans of poets like Kate Tempest. Her style recollects Kate Tempest's style, although they're both unique. And I definitely think if you like one, you'll like the other. And yeah, I've just always adored what I have heard or read by Holly McNish, so I really do want to read a whole collection by her, and this one has had a lot of praise. It's her second full collection, I believe. She's also a Ted Hughes Poetry Award winner, so just love Holly McNish, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to love this poetry collection. The next one is Don't Let Me Be Lonely, an American lyric by Claudia Rankine, and I have read in our collection by Claudia Rankine, which is Citizen. And Citizen was another poetry collection that had so much praise and hype surrounding it. It particularly deals with race and racism, all the way from microaggressions to lynchings, and it's such an emotive, powerful collection. Now, the only thing about this one is that it is an earlier collection, so sometimes you might be a little bit apprehensive that an author's earlier work isn't going to be as accomplished as their later work. However, I loved Citizen so much that I do have hype for this book in my head, and I do have faith that it's going to be as powerful as Citizen, and I would really, really like to read it. I then have 2 non-fiction books, and the first one is Miscegenation, The True Scale of Sexism by Laura Bates. I adore Laura Bates. Everyday Sexism, one of her previous non-fiction books dealing with feminism and sexism, had such a big impact on me as a reader. It really, firstly, made me read more non-fiction. It made me read more feminist non-fiction. Although I already considered myself a feminist, it wanted me to explore the nuances of specific topics and be able to discuss them more articulately with people, which I think it and other books have helped me do. And it's also the book that really pushed me to start the Feminist Orchestra Book Club. I'm constantly telling people to read this book. I absolutely love it, and I think I'm going to love her other book. She has written another non-fiction book, although it's aimed at a slightly younger audience. This one is a collection of essays all about misogyny in contemporary culture, and I think from what I've heard it's a very good one to read, because although suddenly misogyny and sexism is all over the media because of things like Harvey Weinstein and sexism affecting more high profile women more publicly, although it's not just suddenly happening, but it's being covered, but it's not a new thing, and it's almost as if people are reacting to this as though it's a shock that they didn't realise this was happening, when we have been telling you for a long time that this goes on. And I think that this book is going to cover that really concisely and articulately, and show all the ways in which misogyny is systemic amongst our culture and in these little nitty-gritty spaces everywhere. And I find her books really empowering, and they push me to want to make change and do better and fight for better. So I'm sure I'm going to find this a really inspiring read, although probably also quite an upsetting read, as I did with Everyday Sexism. That one did make me cry. And lastly, for non-fiction, I have If They Come in the Morning, Voices of Resistance, edited by Angela Y. Davis. This does include essays by Angela Y. Davis as well, which gives me faith that I'm going to adore it, because I have given 5 stars to everything else I've read by Angela Davis. She's a long-time activist in many areas, and one of the things she writes about quite often is the prison system in the United States of America, and generally incarceration. and I have previously read her book dedicated to that topic, which was quite a short book, but really opened my eyes, and that is Are Prisons Obsolete? And like I mentioned, this is an essay collection, all of which are about prisons and incarceration, but there are other people speaking in this book, not just Angela Davis. I imagine this one will be perfect for those of you that watched 13th, the Netflix documentary that Angela Davis was also in, and that again was a bit of an eye-opener, I think, for a lot of people. This and Prisons Are Obsolete are on those topics, and I'm just interested to read more and explore this issue more, so I'll be interested to read a variety of different people writing about it, as well as Angela Davis. I then briefly want to mention two books I don't have physical copies of, which I don't fully understand, because the first one is The Chrysalis by John Wyndham, which I know I brought my copy of to London. I definitely brought it from Edinburgh to London. It's been in my flat, I have seen it, and now I cannot find it. It doesn't seem to be on a bookshelf. Maybe it's fallen down the back somewhere or somebody's borrowed it. I don't know, but I'm gonna have to look out for it. And this is a 1960s science fiction novel by the author, and I have really adored some of John Wyndham's books in the past. I think, although I have given his books ratings from anywhere between a 3-star and a 5-star. However, this is the one after The Day of the Triffids, which I hear the most praise for. And The Day of the Triffids I did give 5 out of 5 stars. And my friend Jen loves The Chrysalis, it's her favourite John Wyndham. So based on her reading taste and my knowing her reading taste, I think this one could be my next 5-star John Wyndham. In particular, it deals with disfigurement and othering, and it's set in a science fiction dystopian future where lots of people are born with disfigurements, and it's about how they're treated by society. So I am intrigued to see how that's all dealt with in this book, but given Jen's praise of it, I have faith that it's at least going to be a 4-star read, if not a 5-star read. And lastly, another sequel, and that is Binti the Night Masquerade, which is the third in the Binti series by Nnedi Okorafor, and I have just read the previous two in this series and adored these books. They are science fiction stories. The first one is more of a novella, it's less than 100 pages, but the second one was more substantial. It was 170 something, I think, and I think this one's also a bit more substantial in this series. And I'm just so excited to see what is next for our character Binti. These books have so much in them despite being so short. They are science fiction novels, but they also deal with issues of race and culture and self-discovery and growing as a young person. They are very dark at times, and they can really tug at your heartstrings, and you feel nervous and anxious for the protagonist, and they just do so much. What else can I say? She accomplishes so much in these short books, and I'm just so excited to read the next one. They focus on our main character Binti, who is the first of her community to ever go to Umza University, which is off of Earth. It is on another planet, and although other humans have gone to this university, like I said, she's the first of her people to actually even leave Earth's atmosphere and go to another planet. But so much happens in the first book that I really can't say any more. I am sure you've managed to experience some of my enthusiasm for these books in this video. I feel like I've been very animated about them, but I am genuinely convinced I'm going to love every single one of these books. If you have read any of these books, I'd love to know what your thoughts were on any of them, and where do you think I should start with my 5-star predictions. What books are currently on your TBR list that you are just 100%, well 99% certain they will be 5-star reads for you? I'd love to hear about those. But until next time guys, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye!